I started it up. So, all right, man. So, what brings you to Omegle today? What's your story?
Okay, good. Well, I am a professional who loves to freestyle rap. And so, like, I'm a dad, I'm a pastor, I got kids, but I like to freestyle. I'm from New York originally. I'm an old guy. I'm 43 years old.
You're
And
not old,
so,
man. That's just starting.
thank you, my
you
brother.
know?
I appreciate that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's what I do. Like, it gives me a chance to kind of just let my hair down a little bit, just kind of get back to my old roots of having fun. And then also, I'll realize that this is a good medium to be able to speak into kids' lives and young cats and let them know, hey, just because one thing says something, that doesn't mean you got to be that. So
That is
that's
so.
why I come.
I mean, thank God for that. I mean, that's amazing. That's great. That's like
Amen.
totally. I feel like we're in the same boat with this. Just trying to like talk to people and be open.
Mhm. Yep, exactly
So
right.
do you have a story? What got you into being a pastor and religion? Did you grow up with that in your life?
Well, okay. Let me see how I say this. Yes and no. And the reason why I say that is I grew up in and around church, but that doesn't mean that the church necessarily, no, the relationship necessarily got into me. You know what I mean? And so, in essence, to try to find what the real relationship was about, because I didn't like religion. Like I had grew up in church and things like that, and I seen a lot of really stereotypical things that were not necessarily what Jesus was teaching us. You know what I mean? And so the first thing is I had to examine myself, identify myself that, okay, first I have to be a believer and then invest in a relationship. And then I seen how my life changed. And I turned around and realized, man, if a man gets something good, you want to tell it. And as time, like, pastor was not the goal. Really, I'm just a minister. I'm just a brother or sister that I talk to people. And just because I have a group that we all go together and work, they say it's a pastor. I just think that I'm just a brother with some brothers and sisters. That's what it is, man.
Wow, that's great. Was there
Yeah.
a was is there a story like a moment where you knew that this is kind of what you wanted to be doing?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you something real personal, man. And not many people know this whole story. But I was 19. No, no, excuse me, 21. We had, yeah, so I was about 19, 20 years old. And I retired from the Army. So I was in what they call AIT, Advanced Individual Training. And there was a young lady that we kind of went out and stuff like that. She ended up accusing me of something really dastardly, right? And it was in that time I knew that I didn't do anything wrong, but I still had to go through the processes of it, right? And so as I'm going through, I never forget this, man. Like, okay, I'm a sidebar for a second. I'm gonna come back. I think one of the greatest things is that they understand that there's a higher power out there, but they don't know how to really access it. So they start doing other things to try to fill a hole that only God can fill. And so I come back to my story here is one day I'm sitting on the top of my bunk and I'm just feeling really bad, man. Like I'm like down. Like this is just crazy. I can't believe I'm experiencing this. And I was like, man, Lord, I just need to know that you're with me. I need to know because I'm scared, right? And my friend, I share this with you. I felt a feeling from my feet to go all the way up to my head. It was like tingling to the point that I was like, yo, what is this? And all I could tell you was I knew that everything was going to be okay. Like I walked out of my rack and I just walked around like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to be okay. And sure enough, not only was I okay, but even in the way that I was found not guilty, even that part was a miracle. And I share this one last part, which was amazing. After the whole thing was over, my sister was there. My now wife was there with me, and I'm like, man, I just feel like I need to go to church. And she's like, yeah, yeah, let's go to church. And so I look into a telephone book for Faith Temple. I grew up in a place called Faith Temple Church of God in Christ. And my sister's like, hey, look, there's a Faith Temple here in San Antonio, Texas. I was like, okay, let's call them. So we called them. Nobody answered. So he's like, let's go get something to eat. Went to go get something to eat. Now here's the part that's going to give you goosebumps, man. So we get there, and there was a lady. She walks over, and I'm like, "Hey, I see some people. They're all dressed up. I wonder if they went to church." And my sister's like, "Go ask them." So I walk up to them. I was like, "Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Raphael. Do you guys come from church?" And they were like, "No, we're coming from a dance recital, but I know that man over there. I know he goes to church." And so I walk up to the guy, I introduced myself. As it turns out, this gentleman was the pastor of the church that we had looked up in the phone book. Yes. And so I was like, oh my goodness. So the truth of the matter, I don't know who's going to see this, and I hope they hear this, is that no matter where you find yourself, whether you're battling depression, stress, where you feel like you're worthless, I need you to know that God is still invested in you. like he loves you, he knows you. And every fire that he brings to your life, that is a refiner's fire. And he's burned off all the things that shouldn't be there so that you can come forth as pure gold. And that was my story, man. And so now I'm 43 and we've been doing it for a while.
Wow, that's great. So now, thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful.
Yeah, most
You're
definitely. Most
you're very
definitely.
very articulate, and it's great to have you on. I guess a question I have for you now, like with where you are in life,
Mhm.
and what do you see as the trials these days that you are going through in like the religious community and also in life, and and how are you processing all of these things? How are you dealing with them?
Yeah, great question. Okay, so the trial is has always been the same trial, right? It's let's look from a worldly stance for a moment. It's always been at good against evil. Like Satan is real, God is real, right? And they all know what they're trying to do, right? And so the Bible tells us that it says without faith it's impossible to please God. So literally it's like you can put all these efforts in and without faith you cannot please God. So if I'm an enemy, the thing that I'm trying to steal is people's faith, right?
Mm,
Because if I can steal their faith, or if I can get them to misplace faith, then ultimately that is the thing that allows that separation between them and God, right? And so we see that daily. We see a rise in narcissism. We see a rise in depression, isolationism. We see a rise of following things outside of the will of God. We see the rise of worshiping ourselves. We see the rise of laying down moralities and things like that. And so all those are identified just tools in order to get us from having faith in God. And so now I do want to add a caveat. Now, here's the caveat, because I know that some people that may watch this and they say, "Well, Raphael, you're talking about Jesus, you're talking about God, you're talking about Christianity. What about all those people that don't believe in Him? What if they have a different belief set? You know, what about your Buddhist brothers and those people, or what about the people that live often like the bushes that have not had opportunity to hear the gospel?" And that's wrapped up in understanding that He's not going to return until the gospel isn't preached to all four corners, and then if we transition to tribulation period, there will be another opportunity for others to believe. So they're all encompassed in the fact that he controls the total arcing of the view, and we only get a small part to see it. So that's how we understand that.
wow. So for those people who are not Christian or have never heard the teachings, for you, like what do you think are some misconceptions that Christians have?
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So there's a okay. Here's the best one. I'm going to tell you the best misconceptions that Christians have is that they believe that they're the ones that save people. Okay. Hear me clearly. What I mean by that is there are some times where people will come to you and they will they kind of become hammers, right?
Mm,
And hammers are interesting because you can utilize those as systems to build or you can crush, and they don't understand the difference. Hammers that build utilize relationships, and they utilize their testimony, and they utilize the directions that all the light goes back to Jesus, and they build a tremendous relationship. But then you have others that come with this hammer and immediately they dive into all the problems or the quote unquote issues that people have, and you make them judge God because the way you presented a good news. And
wow.
that's so tough to do, my brother. It is. It's tough. So what you got to do, but we've got it perfectly in one sense. All you got to do is go back to the Word. Just go back to Jesus and watch how He did it. You know what I mean? It was very rare that you found Jesus in the synagogues or in the temples for a simple reason. If He was there, it was for a reason being there. But 67 to 70% of the time, you found Him in the streets with those that nobody wanted to talk to, and to the point that he was judging those guys like, yo, you messing me up out here because you're not representing exactly what I am told you to do. I'm about love. And then he reminds us that with loving kindness shall thee be drawn. And then he comes back and says that the joy of the Lord will lead you to repentance. What that meant was as you go out and you show the love of Christ, a part of showing that love is sharing the gospel, right? And being real, right? But
Mhm.
if you do that from a lover's heart, then you're going to see a greater return on that investment, because ultimately you're not investing in just a person. You're investing in a soul that will end up in damnation if they don't know. So why are you going to be somebody to beat somebody up? How about show love, period? And that's what it is. And I share this one last thing because this is so powerful, is there was one time where scripture told us that if you're on the way to leave a gift at the church and you remember that you have a problem with a brother, don't worry about the gift. Leave the gift there. Go take care of the relationship with the brother, and then come back and then leave the gift. Literally, God was like, yo, I'm fine. We good. You and me good. Go deal with your brother real quick. And when y'all good, come on back. And then y'all come together and I can show all of y'all love. That is that from the beginning to right now at this very second. This has always been about a relationship with an almighty God that created something that he held so close to his heart that he made in his own image. But if you changed a couple of words, and that's what it was, Satan changed a couple of words. And when he changed a couple of words, it threw everything out of whack. Then sin entered the world, and that led up to why people have to deal with death and why some people are born this. All that comes from just a misalignment of a wonderful relationship. And so those are the things that we discuss.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So, well, Raphael, I don't know if you would be interested, because I have a few pre-written questions here. I do three questions.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wrote out 48 of them. If you choose three numbers between 1 and 48, I'll give you the corresponding question. They're kind of deeper too. I think you'll appreciate them.
Okay.
So, what are three numbers?
I like it. Okay. So, well, my birthday is June 7th, so let's go with number 7.
Okay, number 7.
And then let's go with number 6, and then let's go with 2.
2.
Yeah,
okay.
2, 6, and 7.
Okay, great. So let's see. We'll do 7 first. What does it mean to be a good listener?
Say again.
Okay.
That was the answer.
That's good. That was good. Well done.
If you don't understand what's being said, ask them to repeat what they said.
Cool.
That's funny. But you couldn't shoot that even. That was hilarious.
Yeah, but what do you think it means to be a good listener? If you could say what your thoughts are.
Hey, buddy. Yeah. Number one, you got to shut up and let people talk, right? And don't start the conversation in your head while a person's still talking. You know what I mean? Listen, engage, lean in. Obviously, there are certain body signals that come along with it. But the truth of it is now I'm going to add this. It's something different, but I'll add it. Is when you're listening, you also have to allow yourself to be open to what's being said. There are some people that have their ears open, but they're not open to what's being said because they've closed that conversation down in their mind already. And so in order to be a good listener, you got to let them talk. You got to be open to hear what they're saying. And if you don't understand, ask them to say it again.
So straightforward and transparent. That's great, man. Oh. All right. Number 6.
Yeah.
I just have to throw out, like, I think that the people in your life, like, I'm sure there are so many people in your life that look up to you as a role model, you know? So I just want to, number 6, have you ever seen a dead body in person?
Okay. Like literally, like physically, like seeing a dead body in person?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone to funerals and things like that. Yeah, and unfortunately, been in war, worked in hospitals. So yeah, we've seen dead bodies in person.
Was that experience very meaningful to you? Like the first time that you saw that, like in war or
Yeah, like I think you could deal with some tough situations if you're not moved when you see something dead, because you think, that now, of course, me personally, I believe that, we have a body, we have a soul that lives in a body, right? So you can look at it and say, okay, well, at least they've moved on. They've gone to a better place, or, that type of thing. But the truth of the matter is, when I see my mother in the coffin, I was not happy to know my mother was dead from this plane. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it
totally,
should be moved.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yep.
And number two, what makes you angry?
Oh man. Oh, okay. Full disclosure, right? This safe place, safe place. Man,
Yes,
you know what?
safe place.
What makes me angry is, man, I hate when we don't value each other. That's the part. I hate that. I hate when someone thinks it's okay to take another life because they don't look like what they look like. Or I hate when people overtalk someone before you let them get their word out to get an understanding of who that person is. I hate when we don't realize that it's not only people that live on this earth, but this earth is living. And when we violate it, when we desecrate it, when we, that bothers me because there was time taken to create something so beautiful. So those are some things, you know what I mean? As a dad, I hate when people, violate in word or anything to my family, my kids, of course, but like I just don't like it when we don't value the essence of life that we've all been given. That bothers me so much, man. Yeah.
Raphael, I feel like I want to ask you
Yeah.
one more question, because we didn't really hit on
Sure.
your thoughts of being a father. For you, whenever you
Yeah.
became a father, and as a father now, like what is something that you've learned from that experience? Something that you didn't expect before you had a child.
Oh man. Well, that was another part of the story I didn't tell you. Is, man, I was 17 and my wife was 16 when we had our first son. So we were babies having babies, right?
Wow.
And yeah, and I was a dad whose real dad had left when I was two, and so all of the blueprint of being a dad came from, like, um, Bill Cosby, right?
Mm,
The men that were around us at church, our stepdad, some uncles, that type of stuff. But I didn't have the all encompassing, full on blood flowing through the body biological father. And I handled that in stages. One part was like, okay, well, I know my dad's in Puerto Rico and I can go, if he sends money, maybe I can go see him, that type of thing. Then I transitioned to like being like 14 and 15. And I started trying to see how I measured up. So I started lying about my dad. So I had a friend whose dad was a cop, and I was like, "Oh yeah, well my dad is an executive for Blue Ribbon Beer in Puerto Rico, and that's why I don't get to see him." So trying to say, okay, if I don't have a dad, I can create this dad. And then next thing you know, 17, having a son and reconciling that I can create being the dad. I can start at breath one, not leaving. I didn't know what a good dad was, but I knew what it looked like to things that I didn't want. And so knew I was going to stay. I knew I was going to love his mom. I knew I was going to provide the best way I knew how. I knew that it was not about me anymore. And that was how we got a chance to build it. Now, fast forward a little bit. Now, my wife and I, we have 4 children. That same teenager, that same young baby is now 24 years old. I have 20-year-old son, 19-year-old daughter, and 17-year-old son. And I've poured my heart and life into them because I didn't know what a good dad looked like, but I knew what I didn't like. And I used that to try to be the best dad I can. And now I'm the dad to a bunch of young men and young women all over the world, thank God. Yep. Love, so, fun stuff,
wow.
man. I love it. There's nothing like it.
Oh, that's great. Well, before we get going, do you have any last thoughts or words of advice or anything you'd like to share with the people watching?
Yes, I get the feeling that you have a very eclectic following, right? And so I want to say something that they hear this, and I'm gonna start real simple, old school. Is God is real? No, He has not forgotten you. And if there's someone who has violated you, I apologize on their behalf to let you know that now you're free of that bondage. Move forward. Those things I want to share. because what happens is now people are feeling that they're being judged by God because of where their lifestyle is. And he used Paul, who was a murderer, and turned his life around and let him be the very mouthpiece to those that he ridiculed. But he just had to realize, okay, you're real. Thank you so much. Let's get it in. And so all those that have been felt judged, I want them to say, hey, there's still a God that loves me. And if somebody has judged me the wrong way, came in with that hammer and crushed me, well, maybe there's somebody else that also has a hammer, and I'm going to meet them to build them up. I hope I was that today for you guys.
Raphael, thank you so much. We're gonna be
Yeah.
posting this video in 15 minutes. So if you'd like to check it out,
Awesome.
make sure to subscribe to the channel.
Okay. Is that YouTube?
Yeah, if you go to YouTube and type in "building bridges," um, it should
Hmm.
pop up. I'll stick around
There you go.
until you find it here.
Okay. Here we go. Let me go to YouTube. YouTube, building bridges. Okay, here we go.
And make sure to put that underscore
Okay.
between building bridges.
Oh, you know what? I think I have it. I've got it right here. Welcome to Building Bridges. This channel is a social experiment art piece that
Yep,
began in the midst. Is that it?
that's it. Yeah, that's it, Raphael. Yeah,
All right.
so you'll be up there in
Oh,
15 minutes,
yeah,
okay?
yeah, good stuff. You
Hey.
know what? We got into it and enjoyed the conversation. What was your name, my
Oh,
friend?
that's right. Yeah, I'm Kenny. I'm Kenny. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you, Kitty.
isn't
All
it
right.
something
Thank.
how
That was fun.
how the names like just get it's about the substance,
Yeah.
No.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And I tell you, that was I consider things like that divine appointments. I
Mm.
really do. Yeah, I really do. Yeah. So Kenny, my friend, it's been a blessing to meet you, my friend. Thank you.
You take care. Have a wonderful
Yeah.
day.
See you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye.
You too.